whether pedagogy is teaching, whether pedagogy is a science, whether it is an act of teaching or it is an overall act of teaching, what actually it is. So I'll be discussing the pedagogy in connection with the English language also, but there can be some general points of pedagogy. So it's very necessary to know what's the difference between education and pedagogy. Education may be to give and receive knowledge, but pedagogy is something different, similar to this, because there are as many as 26 synonyms of the word pedagogy, and we have to understand how pedagogy relates to all these terms. There may be synonyms, but pedagogy, there is no word or substitute or replacement as such for this word pedagogy. And synonyms may be as many as the simplest synonym is teaching or an act of teaching. But pedagogy is encompasses all kinds of you can say all kinds of overall teaching activities, teaching attitudes, teaching methods, teaching materials, curriculum, students, learners, pupils, teachers. It encompasses all the aspects under the sun that are related to the act of teaching. It's a science as well, and pedagogy in itself is a very vast ocean of knowledge. It's a very vast branch. Millions of books are there which exist. Pedagogy may be different for teaching history, may be different for teaching science, it may be different for teaching literature or language. Even in language, pedagogy may be unique to teaching vocabulary, to teaching grammar, teaching literature, exploring the literary text, and also teaching what you call the comprehension or the reading. So LSRW skills can be taught. So we have a lot of pedagogies, methods and materials and curriculum and teacher training programs which are always in the full swing by Cambridge boards or by NCRT or by teacher training programs or Oxford or teacher training courses like EFL, ESL, TESOL or ESOL. There are so many approaches and so on. As it also encompasses the performance of teaching together with the theories, it includes all kinds of theories, critical theories, even the beliefs, even the policies, and even the control, even the curriculum planning, everything that comes under the sun is under the pedagogy. Now, what is the key element? Key element is the knowledge of the curriculum. You should have the knowledge of the learners and the students and of all the factors that would affect teaching and learning as such. Now, there are several approaches to the definition. Is the approach to teaching in the theory and practice of learning and how this process influences are influenced by learners. So how learners are being influenced and how they influence us, and also the teacher and taught relationship, and all the psychological aspects and all the behavioral and cognitive aspects come under this pedagogy. But pedagogy can be simply an act of teaching, but it's beyond more than that in the sense that it incorporates all kinds of theories, all kinds of approaches and methods and materials, and also the principles of teaching. Is an academic discipline, as you can see. And in this discipline, for example, when you do B.Ed or M.Ed or especially teacher training courses like Cambridge SOL or TESOL or EFL courses in USA, so you can see our CELTA data courses, as you might be aware of, which are run by British Council or which are run by Cambridge examination boards. You can see that how knowledge and skills are imparted. So their focus is on the methods and materials and principles of teaching. So in educational context, knowledge and skills, how they are incorporated, and also the interactions that take place during learning. So theory pedagogy vary as they reflect different social, political, and cultural contexts. For example, if you are teaching English in India, you have to take into account the political policies, the social approaches, and the various linguistic communities. And you can also have to see the culture, Indian culture as such, and you have to take into the consideration of general Indian English language as far as the pronunciation, accents, and phonology of English is concerned. And if you are teaching it in America, or if you are teaching in the European countries, or in China, so the pedagogy, practice of pedagogy may vary, and the methods and materials may vary. Because teaching English, for example, and teaching English to the speaker of other languages, as we call it, ASOL, might see that teaching English to Germans involves a different kind of pedagogy. Similarly, teaching English to Russians may be different. I was in London teaching a class, a combined batch. In the combined batch, there were Gujarati, Sri Lankans, Tamilians, Russians, Germans, and also other East European countries, like some people were from Poland. So I thought that some approaches work best for Germans, but they don't for Asians, and some approaches work for the people coming from Poland, or coming from Russians. So, and Indians would have a different kind of approach, like grammar approach or tense approach. So there are various approaches. And for example, you might have heard about the translation approach, direct translation, direct approach, the structural approach, and there are a number of teaching English with grammar, through grammar, and teaching English without grammar. So there can be various native speakers, the framework of L1 learning, which is known as L1 learning, and another is learning, where we use English where we teach English as a second language. So here in this, you can see that pedagogy is the approach to teaching, is a theory and practice of learning. It's an academic discipline, as I have told you. So pedagogy is, in short, is an overall act of teaching, comprehensive act of teaching. So teachers' pedagogy shape their actions. So teachers' actions are included, students' actions are included, their judgments are included, theories of learning come into this, and their understanding what are their needs. There are certain spatial need-based learning is also there. For example, those who want to be lawyers and they want to be good at English, they need the knowledge of legal English. Or others, engineers might need it as technical English. So depend upon the need based, are specific learners, as you can call it. So there are different branches of English learning alone. Conventional Western pedagogies view the teacher as knowledge holder. Okay, even in India or even the Western, teacher is supposed to be the holder of the knowledge, and the student to be the recipient of knowledge. Now, this is the conventional pattern, but in fact, the focus has now shifted from the teacher to the student. But remember, teacher is always in the center. Teacher is always at the focus, and they are student focused teaching, but teachers come in the middle. So teachers' roles have also changed in the pedagogy. They may be demonstrators, they may be facilitators, and whatnot. So pedagogy identify the student as an agent. So student agent, and teacher is a facilitator. But teacher in the conventional form, where the teacher is the knowledge holder, still holds. So how the teaching pedagogy is always aiming at improving the teaching quality. Like you can have a dialogue with yourself through a teaching log. Teach for me, I personally feel that teacher is still at the center. Technology, ICT, the use of computer learning, the use of ICT, the use of the modern tools of MOOCs and mobile learning apps are there. They are the means. They are not an end in itself. So they are good servants for us, that we need to gear them. We have to use them to our best advantage. But uh, the teacher role cannot be replaced. So there are the uh, efforts of various agencies like NCRT, even in the new education policy of 2020. They are keeping the focus on the teacher training, that the teacher should be well equipped, well knowledgeable, and he should have all the methods and materials and approaches and attitudes and aptitudes to deal with this, because you can't replace a human teacher. So teacher is central. He's a key factor. He's the central to all the approaches. So taking the feedback from the students, our pedagogy can be improved. We can have dialogue with the faculty and the dialogue with the peers. So you can see that we have the best approaches incorporated. Now, other approaches we can talk about. These are the general pedagogies, and I'm trying to apply them to the learning of English language or literature as such. One is the constructivists, collaborative learning, where there is more of a group activity, where is integrative, where the people join hands and they integrate themselves to a task, a teamwork, you can say, reflective also, and inquiry based learning also. I'll come to these as being the cognitive based learning, because there are two approaches, behaviorist learning and cognitive approaches. So see, the effective pedagogies, they also involve a range of techniques. For example, you are dealing with the whole class, you are dealing with a structured group, it is learning, or it is an individual activity, whatever it is. So you can see that nowadays, now in the online classroom mode and using ICT, using the mobile for learning and teaching English, now there has to be an overall reform. There has to be a change, pedagogy improved, refined, revised in connection to how we can teach on these online platforms like Google Meet, like this Microsoft, Zoom, or we have to see that the teacher should not be in the traditional role that he is only the one way speaker. He is a one way traffic. The teacher is the only speaker, and the students are all the passive listeners. So we have to come out of that, and there various interactive activities on these platforms can be planned. So coming to the so I will name here the father of pedagogy, Piaget, and I will also mention in pedagogy's theories are too many. I would not like to delve deep into the historical perspectives and his chronological development of the theories of learning as such. So I'll not be discussing here the experiments conducted by Skinner or conducted by Pavlov, conducted by so many, but I would like to mention one theory which may seem pertinent to all of you. So you can see, as I told you, the teacher has to play many roles in different contextual situations. There are five distinct roles which we can enumerate. It can be the delegatory style, it can be the authority. About the authority, Madam has just talked about, and the demonstrator style and the hybrid style, which is a mix up of all the approaches. And there are three D's in the teaching style: directing, discussing, and delegating. So I think one method of tutorial method or lecture method has been replaced by so many approaches. In lecture method, only the teacher is a speaker. He imparts the knowledge, he communicates the knowledge, but nothing has to be seen on the reception part. There's a transmission, there's a production, there's a transmission, but the transmission is very well received or not. We have to focus on the reception part also. So teacher and student focus. So all the other methodologies, they are just a means to an end, including the computer technology, even the high tech world that is at our disposal, at how we have to use them. So the teaching teaching can be, as you can see, in the first person or in the second person, or it can be specific or it can be abstract. Now we have to be sometimes, I must elaborate on this, that some, for example, I talk about phonology of English. Now, if the students learn by themselves, if they refer to the books of phonology, if they refer to the books of phonology, they find it very difficult learning consonants and vowels. They feel a great difficulty in that. So that the job of the teacher is to simplify the things for them, to make the chart simple, to plan simple activities for them, and from the graded activities he can take to the higher activities of learning. So sometimes learning by itself, students who learn by themselves through the books may find it difficult, but the teacher is the one who facilitates, who makes things simple. So about pedagogy, finally, we can say it is an encompassing term concerned with what a teacher does to influence learning in others. So, all the activities on the part of the teacher are included. That may be psychological, that can be normal, that can be paranormal, that can be the behaviorist approach, that can be through gestures, expression, verbal activities, whatnot. So, pedagogy includes everything, and every teacher is unique. And a pedagogy to every teacher can be unique also. We remember most of the celebrated teachers whom we adore for their unique, approaches, and we couldn't find those approaches in anyone else. Interactive part as well, interactions, experiences, activities, routines, events, planned and unplanned, so many things they come under. So there is the word cognitive and metacognition. I'm discussing about this, the cognitive theory as well, and learning the power skills of the students are good. So the learning becomes independent, and their teaching can be improved by myriad ways, that and it depends upon the individual capabilities and talents of the teacher. What are the six approaches to teaching? There can be one-to-one teaching, that one teach, one observe, one teach, one assess, or we can plan group activities like this. There can be a parallel teaching, there can be an alternative teaching. Now what this station teaching and what is this alternative teaching is the occasions where students need specialized attention. Sometimes we conduct, the remedial classes and so on, and there's a team teaching and group teaching also. When I was at CIFL, which is now FLU, lot of emphasis was given where the teacher was a teacher also, a facilitator also, and we were given a lot of group activities based on the problem solving and the applied aspect of the knowledge, and we were required to do certain tasks which improved our critical ability. So the kind of education system that we have now is, you can see that, is based on memory or rote learning, is mugging up or cramming up things. So, even at master's level, you are given five questions, and in unit there are two authors, and you are given two questions with internal choice, and you have to attempt any one. So you can see that how difficult it is based on memory. So you score 70%, 80% marks, which are simply based on your memory and rote learning. And by the time 1 or 2 years are elapsed, you tend to forget all the things. Learning is to be discouraged. The one that is based on the cognitive learning, or a mixed approach or a hybrid approach, or there is a branch system of learning which is a separate discipline in itself, can be harnessed and can be uh, so there will be more questions on testing your critical ability, your analytical ability, or and there should be enough. The teaching should not be mechanical or just passive. It should be full of motivation on the part of the teacher. The teacher has a great asset with him, and that is his own personality and the way he can motivate and facilitate easy learning. That's more important. And we therefore, in pedagogy, we also talk about, in this respect, taking into all such considerations, motivation, incidental teaching, or you can say the role of situations. They all contribute to quality assurance. Consistency, transparency, innovative approaches are there. Nowadays, we can appreciate that modern methods of teaching are full of innovation and innovative approaches, as you can see. So, modern teaching methods are not only the lecture methods or one way sort of a thing, they focus more on collaborative learning, space learning. Sometimes there is a flipped classrooms, self learning, use of games, gamification. and also the crossover learning. And you might have heard about the vocabulary games, crossword puzzles, picture and image elaboration, grammar drills, and discovering and identify key items through the charts, tables, and diagrams. There was one English teacher I met. He was teaching for Excel classes in London. So what he was doing is he was planning different activities for teaching English from English to English, English through English medium, because he can't have he's not supposed to know Russian, German, or whatever. Kinds of charts on the walls, maybe geography charts, maybe the world map, and various other things. And then he would plan activities according to that. And he gave tasks to the students to find out the answers of the questions that he prepared for them. And the students were moving from chart to chart, and they were finding the answers, and in this way they were learning the vocabulary, and they were learning the grammar, and they were communicating with each other. Sometimes the activities were conducted single-handed, one student, or it was a pair of two students, or sometimes group activities. And similarly grammar were done, and also the uh, use of tables, diagrams, and so on. The grammar is discovering the importance of speaking. In grammar translation, now we have to see that translation is also a very potential field. For example, if suppose here I take Hindi as a language and English, learning Hindi to English, or any other language like Telugu or Tamil to English, one to one, translation is seen. But in translation has its own challenges.